Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be transforming the hot mess you are seeing right now into the neighbourhood you saw a few seconds ago. This project took me a lot longer than I expected. When I imported the footage into my editing software I had 7 hours and 45 minutes to edit down, and I think I did a fairly good job as this video now sits at about 25 minutes long, so I hope you enjoy. So I started by clearing the stupid amount of flowers that occupied the area, as this was my original flower breeding patch. First, I removed the flowers I want to display for Halloween and stored them in a little holding pen. Then I moved the rest of them to the dumping ground, which is my beach. I actually filled up the entire left side of my beach with flowers, so I had to start using the lower central beach for storage too. Once I had moved all the flowers, I dug up the trees and rocks in the area and removed the hedges and fences too. Next, I started up the Island Designer app and removed the flower patches in dark dirt and the path surrounding the small fishing pond over to the far left. And with that, the area was pretty much empty and prepared for the project to really begin. Now I had a clean slate, I decided to slightly expand the riverbank on the right side of the area and create a small decorative island in the middle of the river. So as you can see, I'm filling in the small fishing lake as I didn't like where it was placed. I had also built up a small cliff, but this doesn't stay because I thought it stuck out a bit too much there. It was also at this point I was going a bit crazy after spending hours removing flowers and generally clearing up the area, so I decided to take a break for the night and start again the next day. Okay, so the next day I decided I wanted to build a cliff with a waterfall and a small lake in the upper left corner of the area. The issue with this was that it would obscure the patch of rare flowers at the bottom of my museum garden, so I decided to switch the rare flowers with some yellow ones so that they would be directly behind the cliff instead. After I'd added the waterfalls, I dug a few holes to mark where I wanted to plant trees later. I also did this a lot generally at the topmost part of the area because I wanted to give the illusion of dense trees and wanted to pack in as many as I could. terraforming was finished, I used the light dirt path to block out spaces where I wanted villager homes to go. I also started laying down the path. I didn't have much of a plan for the layout of this neighbourhood, so still feeling a little overwhelmed with the amount of space I had to fill, I just started placing the path where it felt natural to. It looks a bit crazy now, but I think it looks great when I fill it all in later. Now I had some of the paths set out, I painted in the last few plots for villagers' homes and then requested to move Maddie's house. It was at this point that I lost some of the structure that I intended to have when filming this video, so things might be a little bit all over the place from now on. Then I finished laying down the path and filling it in, so now it was time to start decorating and planting some of the foliage. I began the third day of this project by saying goodbye to Bam, who had asked me whether he should leave my island the day before. I liked Bam, but I felt like changing things up a bit and letting him leave. After saying my goodbyes, it was time to move the next villager into the new neighbourhood, who just so happened to be my favourite sporty, Antonio. After that, I headed to the custom design kiosk in the Able sisters and picked out a few quilt designs to go in Maddie's front garden. I come back to actually decorate her garden later, as I was lacking a little inspiration at the time. The next day I moved Admiral's house to the top right hand plot. I thought he would appreciate being tucked away in the trees behind the other villagers. After placing his house, it was time to go on a villager hunt to replace Bam. They honestly aren't my favourite thing in the world to do, but I got out 5 tickets to start off with, and as it turned out I would only actually need 1. And so, just like that, in one try, I got the most sought after villager in the game. It was strange. It definitely took me a minute or so to decide whether I even wanted Raymond on my island. I think he's cute, but that there are definitely cuter villagers in the game. However, because of all the hype around him, I felt like I had to have him. I think that if he asks to leave, I'll let him go at some point, but it'll be fun to have him around for the time being. So back to the actual speed build. I found these perfect stone path patterns which I wanted to place outside each village's front doors. After that, I went back to decorate Maddie's garden. Please excuse the mess, as much pocket space as we have, I definitely need more. So I looked at her profile on the Animal Crossing wiki and found that her house is meant to look like an outdoor picnic, but for me she just has the generic pink peppy house. So I decided to recreate the picnic theme outside for her instead. Maddie's garden, I moved on to Admiral's, where I decided to do a bamboo theme. He seems like a chill guy, so I kept it fairly simple and just gave him a water feature, a lawn chair and a cup of brew. The day after, I moved Stitches. As he is a lazy villager who loves to eat, I thought it would be cute to put him next to Maddie, who has the picnic blanket set up. Then I moved on to decorating the little strip next to Antonio's house. As his house has blue furniture in it, I wanted to incorporate that outside too, but it didn't really fit the vibe of the neighbourhood, so I stuck to more muted tones to match the exterior of his house instead. Another day later, I went to visit Raymond, who'd moved in that morning. Then I made him move again. As I did for Maddie, I checked his profile on the AC Wiki and found that his hobby was nature, so I thought it was lucky that the last available plot was right next to the trees and waterfall. So I knew I wanted to use the space between Maddie and Stitches for some kind of community area that I could switch out season to season. I was watching a Nintendo Talk video the other day and fell in love with this apple stall / apple cider stand design, so decided that this was the perfect time to recreate it. I love the pops of red against the muted greens and browns of the surroundings. As soon as I get the burning leaf pile DIY, I'm going to swap that out for the campfire and customise it to have the little marshmallow toasting sticks. Overall, I was so happy with how this microenvironment turned out. I think it's tiny areas like these which really make an island stand out. Now for a drastic change in weather. Although it's not necessarily the season for long naps outside, clearly, I think that Stitches would have a hammock outside all year round. I moved on to decorating the final house exterior, which was of course Raymond's. I'm not usually drawn to the imperial furniture, but I recently found the brown imperial divider in a balloon and thought it would look perfect in this area. Then I just placed a few log armchairs and some other decorative pieces and the area was complete. Then all that was left were the final finishing touches. I decided to continue the stone path by Maddie's front door to the beach as the gap between her picnic blanket and the swinging bench was really irritating me. I added a few more street lamps, garden lanterns and other shrubbery around the place. I know that tulips aren't traditionally autumnal flowers, but I just love how much the red ties in with the apple trees. I also decided to add the clay furnace to outside Admiral's house just to fill up the space a little bit more. So now we are on to the final walkthrough. I'm so happy with how this area turned out, which is honestly surprising how often I spend hours on something in this game then end up hating it. I really hope this video gave you some inspo for things to do on your own islands, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. My previous content up until now is mainly student and organisation related, but I'm planning on doing much more Animal Crossing content in the future, so stay tuned if that's something you'd be interested in. I hope you're having a great day and that I'll see you again soon.